Well, Percenters, welcome back. Been a while trying to get this Clippers one out. When super teams don't work, thinking basketball.
Clippers are a super team.
Reaction, Kawhi Leonard,
5
Paul
All-NBA
George.
appearances. Paul George, 6-time All-NBA.
And
James Harden, 7 All-NBA
No idea why they
selections.
got them. They got
They
Russell
can all
Westbrook
handle the
too.
ball and shoot. And Kawhi and PG have made 11 all-defensive teams in an era when versatile defensive wings are in demand.
They're getting
So,
old, man.
With all that talent, why is their offense below league average?
Because
And
they don't have
more
defined
importantly,
roles.
why are they losing more than half their games?
Tyler's
Assembling
looking real
super teams
old.
is nothing new. The first unofficial super team was the 1969
That's their
Lakers,
center.
when Wilt Chamberlain paired up with Elgin Baylor and Jerry West.
Elgin Baylor is
They
a
did
do-it-all
make it back
guy.
to the
Jerry West
finals,
is the shooter.
but lost in disappointing fashion to Bill Russell's Celtics. Over the years, other teams have stacked all-stars in trades or free agent. Disappointing fashion to Bill
my
Russell's Celtics.
Let's see this one.
Over the years,
Oh my God, way over the hill. Steve Nash, broken back. Dwight Howard, Ron Artest are Meta World pieces. Not a superstar. It was just Kobe and Powell.
other teams have stacked all-stars in trades or free agency, and with mixed results.
Oh, the
Some
Heatles.
super teams win championships, like the 1983 76ers, the 2017 Warriors, they were pretty good, and the LeBron Wade Heatles. Although Miami failed to reach their lofty expectations in year one.
Not 5, not 6.
The
Some
KD
super
Golden
teams
State
are
worked
so
real easy.
unremarkable,
KD fits
they
in real
almost
easy.
lose super team status with 2020 hindsight. And then there are
Terrible.
teams
Paul George, Carmelo Anthony, Russell Westbrook.
that almost work, but the expectations were so high they feel like letdowns.
Big names don't
The
equal winning.
1997 Rockets added a third Hall of Famer a year removed from a title. And while they didn't dominate
Passes
the
prime
league,
Barkley.
they nearly made the NBA Finals. The 2004 Lakers fielded a quartet of Hall
no,
of
that was a super old Karl Malone, super old Gary Payton. This is when the old guys came over at the end of their career trying to win a chip. This is not like how it is now.
Famers. And again, they fell short, but at least they were favorites in the final round of the playoffs.
They could have won it. It had
The
Karl
current
Malone
quartet
got
of Hall
not
of
got
Famers
hurt.
in LA
They ran into his
might
knee
not
or
win
something
a
like
playoff
that.
series at this rate. And while age is often a factor that inflates expectations for super teams, there is a ton more going on here.
Traveled.
The Clippers run a lot of plays designed for isolation post-ups for their star wings that almost look like they're from the 1990s. And while some of this iso ball works because Kawhi and PG are so skilled, it's not the most efficient team offense, and it also turns the
good
other
for
stars
more
into
postseason.
overly qualified spot-up shooters.
But that's
Notice how
exactly what
slow
that is.
some of these sets are to develop. Harden's not looking to score here, but to hit Kawhi off this screen. Then they fall back on some isolation while two other Clippers clog up the paint. It's all very 2004. Harden's not really comfortable attacking from the elbow like this, so he's in all-out pass mode on these plays, waiting for something to develop. And when nothing does, he throws a hot potato to Westbrook, who's open for a reason. According to synergy tracking, LA is at the top of the league in number of
That was
isolation.
first
And when
possession
nothing
of the
does,
game,
he throws a
2-0.
hot potato to Westbrook, who's open for a
He's
reason.
probably not even warmed up.
According to synergy tracking, LA is at the top of the league in number of isolation possessions, and many are by design. This is after a timeout where a contested mid-ranger is not ideal.
They don't got guys that
This
can
one
move off
looks like
the
it's
ball
in
other
slow
than Paul
motion.
George and
There's
Kawhi.
some confusion.
Everybody
followed
else is a
by
slasher or
pick
ball
to
dominant guy.
generate a switch, but Nikola Jokic can stand in the lane because two Clippers are jammed together in the corner. So a single
None of those
defender
guys
can cover
can
them,
occupy the dunker
and
spot.
the primary attack here is co-isolation with 6 seconds left on the clock, which actually yields a pretty good shot. And that's the promise of this
Missed the
Clipper
shot.
team. Defenses have to double team because there's so much scoring talent. Kawhi brings it up and draws two defenders here. Harden skips it across court, and George ends up with a corner three. But they don't always capitalize when they draw a second defender. Off this screen, Harden draws two, but they lose the advantage on the pass because James thinks that Kawhi's popping out to the line, but he sort of rolls instead, And then Kawhi goes to work in isolation, draws that help defender,
chemistry.
but in lieu of hitting Harden, he throws up a long 2. Sometimes Kawhi will make that pass, but then the shooters won't shoot. George is wide open, gets way too cute, and the moment is gone. And I'm not actually sure I've ever seen a team create so many advantages
shoot off the dribble,
only to lose the advantage a second later. Sometimes the spot-up shooter sort of record scratches. Terrence Mann is wide open here, but passes instead. So Norm Powell attacks a closeout, but then his pass is off the mark, and that lets the defense mostly recover. So sometimes this is also a passing issue. Kawhi draws the double, and the big man is open at the rim. But Leonard misses it, the skip pass is open, but it resets back to Harden, who's floated 35 feet out for some reason, and when it gets to George, the advantage is gone. And at least he can attack a bunch of space and hit pay dirt late in the clock. Kawhi backs down on this one, and when the double team comes, Harden's spaced too far away, and that means one
This is
defender
like awful
can
to
cover
watch.
2 Clippers. Kawhi misreads it, and that leads to a turnover. A few minutes later, it's the same setup. Harden's in better position this time, but Kawhi's worried about that pass now. Needs to dribble to find an outlet, and that leads to a wide open PG, but he doesn't shoot for some reason, and then Mann isn't even in position to shoot on the catch, so the advantage goes away, and Harden ends up with a difficult shot. Mann has had his issues in these situations, capitalizing on his teammates' attention, deciding whether to shoot or drive. Although Harden has probably killed more advantages than anyone. Mann attacks the closeout, and then instead of shooting, Harden lets Jabari Smith close all the way back to him so the defense can completely reset while he plays footsie in the corner. This time it's George working in space, so the defense sends a second defender to help, and Harden isn't even thinking of shooting and lets the Spurs recover again before moving into the pick and roll game. And this one might take the cake, where he runs to the line just to wait for the defender to catch up to him, only so he can throw it over to Ian Eagle on press row. This is part of the challenge
they make him
of
look so
Harden
bad.
playing away from the ball. He's historically only a touch better on catch-and-shoot threes than on off-the-dribble ones. And he doesn't attack closeouts well. He's not going to explode into space and finish in traffic, and so he turns it into a tough mid-ranger instead. That means that defenses don't have to pay much attention to him when he doesn't have the ball. So his man can sit in Kawhi's driving lane while he's one pass away, and he ends up looking to the other side and throws it to a defender. As strange as it sounds, the Clippers would be better in spot-up situations with an elite shooter or someone who attacked closeouts with more explosiveness. But hold on.
There's a flip side to that coin.
And what exactly is that flip
Russell
side?
Westbrook.
You know, I'm not a system player. I am a system. You know what I mean? So.
And he's sort of right in that Harden pick and roll possessions have historically produced really good results. So the theory on these possessions is sound, with George occupying a defender on one side and Kawhi spacing the floor on the other, so Harden has room to drive and attack. Of course, the beard is a little grayer now, so he doesn't have the same burst to be a one-man offense, and the concern here is that him dominating the ball turns George and Kawhi
They don't give him
into
those calls
history's
anymore
most
because he's a
expensive
crybaby.
spot-up shooters, and
He
even then
abused
he
it.
still might not pass it. Leonard and PG do have solid off-ball value, both as spot-up threats and even on the move like this, so more handoffs or movement can amplify their value away from the ball while Harden creates openings. The other challenge with the Harden pick and roll game is the roll man, because the Clippers don't really have a great partner for him. Ivica Zubac isn't an elite lob threat, and this might be rust, but Harden misses him here instead of his eyes lighting up. And more importantly, they struggle when teams send two defenders to the ball handler and the bigs have to pass on the move. Zubats in particular is overtaxed as a playmaker in these short roll
They should
situations.
put Russell Westbrook as a
Because
screener.
That's not really his
Put
strength.
Zubac down in the
Here
in the
he catches this and looks
dunker
to
spot.
pass, but there's no one in front of him on the roll. Even with all that, Harden pick and rolls that lead to 4-on-3s are still pretty good offense. But the goal of a super team isn't to create good offense, it's to create great offense. And that's the rub with the Clippers. As currently constructed, it's hard to see the pieces all adding up without trade-offs. I mean, they could use Westbrook as
Everything's
a
a
screener,
trade-off.
and he's quite dangerous on the short roll, but then they would have two non-shooters on the court, so the spacing falls apart with either Zubats or Russ off the ball, and then sometimes Westbrook is overzealous, wanting to isolate himself.
Give me this. Give me this.
If they play small with Westbrook, then there's no big man to help protect the paint on penetration. And, of course, Harden himself presents defensive problems. The Nuggets hunted him over and over down the stretch in their recent game, and
Get
nothing
Harden
epitomizes
outta there,
a defensive vulnerability like Reggie Jackson and DeAndre
But they paid
Jordan
him, so he
breaking
gotta play.
defense in a game that Denver won without its three best players. I actually think the Clippers will improve as they play together more and find offensive tactics that create and maintain more advantages. But this isn't a young team. They probably don't have a high defensive ceiling, and ultimately, there's only one basketball. And to me, that's the ultimate lesson with any super team that isn't actually all that
Sometimes
super.
you add a player.
3 or 4
and,
big scorers will make you competitive.
you make the team
But you
worse.
can't just stack up stars and expect to be great, especially in an era where speed, decision-making, and movement are so important.
Adder, subtractors,
Because,
multipliers, and
after
dividers.
all, basketball isn't played
Harden
on paper.
is a divider.
The Clippers are currently playing at a 42-win pace when it
Yikes. Clippers suck. Harden is the biggest problem. But besides Harden being the biggest problem, whoever brought him there is even worse. Until next time, take 14 minutes, 24 seconds, or 1% of your day to get better. Peace.